I'm Corey.
Michael.
Annie.
Jenna.
Andy.
Elsa. Alex.
Nelson.
Alright. The internet is one of the few remaining places where people can currently be truly free. On the internet you can communicate with people all over the world, you can purchase items from the comfort of your home, you can compete with others in countless games, or you can even start up your own virtual community. There are countless things that people can use the internet for. One of the major appeals of the internet is the multitude of unrestricted options available to the user. It's that very same freedom that could very well be in jeopardy. Whether you decide to call it internet censorship or regulation, the end result is the same: less freedom on the internet. Consider for a moment television, specifically the channels available to customers. People can have the really basic cable channels for free. People can have access to regular cable channels for a price. People can also subscribe to services such as HBO or Showtime to get premium content. If the internet were to be regulated, the end result could be not unlike cable television. For free, people could have access to an extremely condensed and limited version of the internet, if any at all. For a monthly price, customers could have access to a slightly larger internet. For example, maybe the paying customer would be able to use a popular website such as YouTube. And finally, those who pay the most would be able to access the internet that we all use for free today, or a more free, restricted version. There's also a chance that these internet companies would restrict the user to using their own specific services, such as search engines, video streaming websites, and not those of like rival companies. Whether or not such a thing could happen is important, my speech is about why such a thing shouldn't happen. I like to use this speech to address and examine this important issue from all sides and ultimately show what I believe to benefit the most people. I like to talk about the viewpoint of those who support regulation, net neutrality and how it pertains to the regulation issue, and to weigh the pros and cons of internet censorship. While I don't think that internet censorship should be implemented, I like to begin by discussing the viewpoint of those who support internet censorship. Internet regulation advocates cite quite a few reasons as to why they think the internet should be restricted. But not all supporters support it for the same reason. As Jonathan Strickland of the informative site HowStuffWorks.com put it, the motivations for censorship range from well-intentioned desires to protect children from unsuitable content to authoritarian attempts to control a nation's access to information. One belief is that a more restricted internet will severely cut down on computer crime. Another benefit that some supporters such as Uttar Manohar of the informative technical website Buzzle.com bring up is that internet regulation will mean stringent policies over unjustified defamation, which is a way of saying that people would no longer be able to insult others from the relative anonymity of their computers without facing repercussions. Ian Caithness of Helium.com states that internet censorship is protecting the views and beliefs of others, which without it would lead to racial hatred, gender discrimination, and anarchistic use of the internet. Indicating that an unregulated internet will become a sort of cesspool of unrestrained hatred. Some of those in favor of internet regulation speak of a tiered internet, an internet where there is a high tier for the highest paying customers, and wherein these high paying users have access to an internet that is faster than the lower tier users. Basically a pay what you get for type of model. Now that I've shown the arguments and ideas provided by supporters of internet censorship, I think it would be fitting to discuss those who are for net neutrality and the arguments in favor of it. Net neutrality, as described by Eric Schoenfeld of TechCrunch.com, is the principle that all information flowing across the internet should be treated equally. I think that a little history might help shine some light on net neutrality and its relation to the internet censorship debate. Until 2005, net neutrality largely ruled the internet without opposition. According to the debate-oriented site OpposingViews.com, in a series of proceedings beginning in 1968 known as the Computer Inquiries, the FCC decided that the companies providing communication services would not be allowed to interfere with or discriminate against information services. Under the protection of these rulings, the physical wires that information and data flow through were considered to be separate from the actual data and information. This distinction essentially put users in control of the internet. Network owners own and control the physical data cables, but not the information that travels through them. The internet for a while is free. In summer 2005, the FCC removed the ruling that internet providers only own the cables themselves, all due to extreme pressure from phone and cable company lobbyists. It so began debate between whether or not net neutrality should stay or go. The internet started out free and relatively small back when net neutrality began. In the beginning, when the internet was not threatened with regulation, the internet expanded at a ridiculous rate. Websites were created that incredibly altered the social landscape, such as Facebook, MySpace, and YouTube. Things such as that. I've now discussed the perceived positives and negatives of censorship, so I'd like to weigh the two so that I can show what I feel to be the better logical options. Let's review the position and arguments of those who support a regulated internet. Supporters of internet regulation believe that regulation will cut down computer crime. They also believe that it will allow for strict repercussions on people who harass others. And they also say it will protect others from discrimination and all-around hate over the internet. Taking a look at the perceived benefits of regulation reveals anything but. While reduced computer crime is certainly desirable, a restricted internet does not necessarily mean a similarly restricted computer crime. It would still be possible for computer crimes to be committed on the limited internet available, and it would be surprising if it would not be surprising if a way to illegally access the full internet was discovered, making even more criminals in the form of people wanting to go beyond their limited access. Restricting the internet so that people can no longer harass you over the internet without facing severe repercussions is ridiculous. It's making an e-bully face real charges for insulting someone over this new limited internet truly worth internet regulation. And obviously, if cable companies could restrict internet access and charge more for different parts of the internet, they would make a considerable amount more than they now do charging one price for the whole internet. And who knows how many more important internet creations would not be around today if their creators did not have access to the internet as a whole and cannot be inspired by other creative websites. To put it simply, the internet without, say, YouTube or some other important site that hasn't even been created yet, an internet without sites such as those, without the possibility to have more sites like that appear, isn't really worth some more extreme repercussions on a few people. An internet governed by net neutrality has produced society-altering results. Abolishing it would do no more than cripple creativity and turn the internet into a service slightly more dynamic than a television set. In closing, internet regulation has been the source of many heated debates. I hope my speech has given you a better understanding of this popular issue. I think that after looking at what I've talked about, such as the argument and ideas of those who support regulation, net neutrality and its importance, the comparison of the two sides of debates, after looking at all that, you can see which option is more desirable, I hope. I hope that ultimately persuaded everyone that internet regulation will only serve to cripple innovation and make internet access similar to something like premium cable channels. If I haven't persuaded any of you, I hope that at least I've shown you a few opposing viewpoints in this important debate.